So any of y'all watched the documentary on ESPN about Lane Kiffin yet? Because I have not. If you have, let me know about it in the comments down below. But I will get to it eventually. Again, football season stuff is just like ramping up. So that's kind of where we're at with that. We're at posting and all of that stuff when it comes to college football. However, if you guys are already to the channel though, you already know what to do. Leave a like, subscribe, turn that bell on as it leaves you up to date with all of our latest videos. In today's third video of the day, yes, it's been 2 videos already, which is absolutely crazy. We are going to be talking about the MLB playoffs. So we're going to break down which teams have already clinched. We're going to talk about who can potentially clinch this week or the next couple of days as well before heading into the final weekend. And then, of course, preview the final weekend of the MLB regular season. But first, if you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Leave a like, subscribe, turn that bell on as we do our best to post on this channel every single day. Later today, to close out the day, we will, of course, play our Vanderbilt Dynasty, so stay tuned for that. Tomorrow, I don't think my cards are going to get here in time for us to do a PSA grading reveal, so we may only have 2 videos for you guys, but that's okay as we wrap up a great week of posting here on the channel. We're probably going to play our Texas A&M Road to Glory and start our Madden franchise with the Carolina Panthers, so stay tuned for that. Hit that sub button, leave a comment down below so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. And without further ado, let us go ahead and talk about these MLB playoffs and the final weekend of the regular season. Alright, so let us go ahead and talk about who's in so far before we go ahead and talk about the wild card races. First of all, the MLB playoffs start next Tuesday, if you guys do not know. So after this weekend's up, they do have a day of rest before hitting the ground running on Tuesday for the postseason. Let us go ahead and talk about who has already clinched. And that would be the Milwaukee Brewers, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Chicago Cubs, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Padres, and the Yankees. And last night, the Seattle Mariners. I don't know if you guys saw, by the way, we'll start with the Seattle Mariners. The home run that Cal Raleigh hit and the final pitch was absolutely electric. That stadium was rocking all night long. And I, as an Astros fan, I have nothing but respect and I'm rooting for them to win the World Series out of the AL, or to at least to come out of the AL. Maybe not win the World Series, because I would like the Chicago Cubs to win it. But again, I'm rooting for them, especially in the American League as they take on some of these other teams. Definitely one of the teams that I will be following throughout the playoffs and the postseason. But that's what teams do at the trade deadline. They trade players, and that's what happened with the Seattle Mariners. They traded some of their okay players, and they went out and got some dogs. Obviously, Kyle Raleigh turned it on the Jets as he had 60 home runs now, but there's other players in there like Randy Arozarena, who's been a key factor in this Seattle Mariners squad as well. So the Seattle Mariners clinched the AL West and clinched a playoff spot last night, so congratulations, as the city of Seattle can definitely celebrate. Now, let's talk about the New York Yankees for a little bit, because that American League East race is heating up. I believe, don't quote me on this, but the Boston Red Sox do have 89 wins on the year. So they're closing in on both the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. However, they would need both of those 2 teams to get swept this weekend if they want to win. And they would have to go 3-0 against the Detroit Tigers this weekend if they would want to win the AL West as well. However, they can clinch a playoff spot tonight. I think that they do. Even with a win and an Astros win, they still can clinch a playoff spot. That final wild card spot in the American League is down to 2 teams. It's down to Houston and it's down to Detroit. We saw what happened with Detroit last night in that Cleveland game where they just collapsed, guys. That's pretty much what happened. Then, of course, we saw what happened with the Astros last night against the Yankees. They also collapsed. So it seems like nobody wants this final wild card spot. That's really what's happening here in the Major League Baseball. The Padres, they also clinch a wild card spot. Of course, 4th trip in 6 consecutive years with a walk-off win over the Brewers to get the job done on Monday. That was an electric atmosphere, and they got the job done. The Dodgers clinched their 13th consecutive playoff appearance as well. So the Dodgers are heading back to the playoffs, and that National League race is going to be a tight one as well with the Padres and the Dodgers. I'm very interested to see which one of those 2 will come out on top this weekend to, of course, win that National League West division. Then, again, we talked about it, the Yankees and the Blue Jays. It looks like the MLB is kind of rigging it in the Yankees' favor, because we saw some clips of George Springer on Twitter, or at least I did, of course, of him not being too happy with the officiating and the referees and the umpires and stuff like that. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in this AL West. There's a lot of very exciting division races that are going to be coming down the wire this weekend, and I'm very much looking forward to it. The Chicago Cubs, they've clinched a playoff spot as well, so they are in. And it's going to be their first playoff spot since 2016, or excuse me, since 2020 in Chicago. So I'm sure the city of Chicago is rocking. They were rocking last night on Wednesday Night Baseball. I was watching it, and it was a blast. The Phillies and the Brewers, the two teams in the National League with the best records, they have clinched of course, division title with their respective divisions, the NL East and the NL Central. It's going to be fun to see who actually gets home field advantage throughout the end of the World Series. I know the Phillies can do it with the win, and I know that the Brewers can do it with the win. So one team kind of needs each other team to lose, and we'll see who can lose first this weekend, or if the Brewers do hold on to that final spot, of course, within these next 3 games. Going to be a very interesting down the stretch. Now, let us talk about the wild card matchups, because the National League wild card, the final spot is between 2 or 3 teams right now. It's between the Mets, the Diamondbacks, of course. Those 2 teams are going to be fighting for that final spot in the National League. And then the American League is between the Tigers and the Astros. So, Houston, we may have a problem, guys. We may not make the playoffs this year. And if we don't, then Espada and all of the manager and everybody basically just needs to get out, because this Astros team has collapsed. The trading staff has not been able to keep up with their players as well, getting hurt left and right, like Yordan Alvarez has been hurt pretty much this entirety of the 2025 season. So, again, very curious to see if Houston does sneak in there these past final games. But if it's anything like the past couple of nights, then we're not going to get in. That's for sure. As last night was just embarrassing. I watched last night pretty much from start to finish, and it was just a horrendous, of course, matchup there. Then, on the Guardians side of things, they blew an 11-game lead over the Tigers. Yes, you heard that right. The Tigers blew a 11-game lead over the Cleveland Guardians in the American League Central. So, the Guardians are probably going to take that division. Right now, they're sitting alone at the top. So, again, Detroit's going to have to sneak in there in that final wild card spot if they want to make the playoffs. And as of right now, they got to go to the Red Sox, who are looking still to win that division. So, if Boston can sweep Detroit and Houston can get in this weekend, that's the best case scenario for me, as, of course, the MLB playoff stretch is coming down the wire. We're going to have predictions for the MLB playoffs once the bracket is set this weekend on Monday, so stay tuned for that. However, let me know what you thought about this Yapatron video in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn that bell on, as we do our best to post on this channel every single day. Like I said, the next video we're going to do is, of course, our Vanderbilt Dynasty. So stay tuned for that. Hit that sub button, leave a comment down below so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.